Aloha, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name is SprinkleBeard. Today, we are going to be doing how to gear up an aggressive support, and we're going to try a slightly different format. You're going to have to let me know if you like it or not. If you like this content, please hit the like or subscribe button down below. Consider following us over at twitch.tv/SprinkleBeard. I stream pretty much every day that I can from about 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm currently taking Sundays off. Sometimes my schedule does get disrupted from personal business, but that's not why you're here. Let us talk about gearing up an aggressive support. So on all of our other videos, we are starting from scratch and gearing up a brand new champion. I've decided for this video, I want to see if I could just show you gear and talk about why I chose it for the champion, if that might help better understand things rather than searching for gear. The other videos that we've done so far have done a very good job of showing off these things. So I don't feel like every single video needs to be that way. If that is a preference, right, where you want to see gearing a new champion from scratch, please consider watching the attack videos, the defense videos, or the support video. And if that, if that's still like, you're like, well, this is a completely different thing, let me know in the comment section down below. We'll make another video to follow this up. So in our previous video, it is labeled something along the lines of how to equip a support champion, defensive inclined, and how to gear them up. This video is going to be offensively inclined. So in this game, we have some supports, and they are much more aggressive, almost, I want to say, proactive supports. So we have things like Bellower, we have things like Sachi, who are going to focus much more on their attacking side of the spectrum to do their job, whereas things like Rector Drath are much more on the defensive side, where they have a lot more abilities that maybe don't attack, that just heal and buff their teammates and don't necessarily interact as much with the opponent, whereas champions like Bellower or Sachi, they get advantages for attacking into the opponent and causing advantages for your team. So, like with any champion, we are going to talk specifically about how to gear up the champion. So first, we're going to do an overview of the champion so that we can talk about why we choose certain things. So here we're going to be reviewing Bellower, who in my opinion, I would argue is the best rare in the game. And the reason I would argue it is that he is so good at so many different stages of the game. And after we cover his kit, I think it'll be very clear how amazing he is. So let's jump into that. Aura, he increases ally speed and faction crypts by 15%. Again, speed is the almighty thing, so any extra speed is amazing. 15% is quite low though, so as you get into faction crypts, you might end up leaning more towards the defensive side, or even maybe resistances for some of the higher end of levels. Next, his A3 is Bowl Over. Attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance, or eventually a 100% chance, of placing a 25% decrease attack, so that's the softer of the decreasing attacks, for 2 turns. Also has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense. Again, that is the softer, it's not the break, as you hear me say with a lot of skills throughout the game. It is like a stage 1 drop instead of like a 2-stage drop, right? Here's the thing though, it's an AoE attack on a rare that has a 100% chance. After we fully book him, that is a 100% chance of you getting an attack down and defensive down. So you are stopping basically your opponent from ever dealing damage to you. Their attack champions and their defensive champions are heavily going to be neutered, and they're all going to be taking more damage, which I love. Mighty Bellow for the Bellower. Attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance, or eventually a 75% chance, of placing a 15% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Again, this is the soft version of the speed break, so it's not the 30% that we would like to see. However, it is a 15%. So the fact that you're decreasing their attack their defense, and now their speed, all on AoE attacks. And because you're a void champion, that means nothing resists you. You have no chance of a weak hit happening. These are the two skills that make Bellower amazing. And then to put that icing on the cake, right, we have Frazzle. Attacks all enemies, has a 20% chance, or eventually a 30% chance, of placing a block active skills debuff for 1 turn. So block active skills, for players that are brand new to the game, or maybe this is like some of your earliest content that you've watched, block active skills, we call this your A1. This is the skill that you can use all the time. It has no cooldown on it. And then your A3 and your A2 are skills that do have cooldowns on them, and normally they have higher scaling. So like your A3 has your best scaling, or is your most powerful ability in your kit. And then your A2 is like a moderate skill, right? So on this champion who's doing a lot of attacking, you know, it has less scaling than the A3, but it's still going to be like respectable. And then your A1 kind of is like, you know, your basic attack, you know, you're doing damage. This block active skills puts a lock, meaning that these two skills cannot be used for 1 turn, because the lock is for 1 turn. Otherwise, it would be like, you know, for 2 turns is the most common one. Otherwise, the only other way for you to mess with your opponent's skills is to put them on cooldown. There's certain skills that either put them on like a generic cooldown. So in this case, it would be on a 4-turn cooldown, or it would put it on a 2-turn cooldown is the other way that I can think of that you can mess with people's skills. Anyways, as we can see, Bellower here is all about the debuffs. So here we have 2 debuffs that we have a very high chance of placing on. So we want accuracy on him. Then over here, we have a 75% chance of a debuff. We want accuracy on him. And then Frazzle, we have a 30% chance of landing a debuff. So this screams accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. Everything we want on him has to have accuracy. So stat-wise, we're going to talk about how I geared him up, and then at the end, I'm going to cover what I would do to change to make him better, what I think I could do to make him a more decent champion. So, boots. Again, I typically start off with boots on every single champion I build. We started off with speed, and then I looked for boots that just had an accuracy substat, because I really wanted... He was one of my first rares, and I re-geared him a few months ago, and I still use him. I still really enjoy him. Now that I have a lot of newer gear, I could probably re-gear him a lot better. And I would say I'm at the point that if I was to re-gear him, I would definitely have a much heavier focus on accuracy. 300's very good. It's respectable. I would definitely want, like, at minimum 350, so that if I use an accuracy boost on him, he'd be well over 500. So anyways, with the boots, right? These are 5-star boots with speed, and we started off with just accuracy, so this attack stat, right, could be a lot better for him. Thank you, tournament position. This is perfect timing. And then they happened to roll crit rate and HP percentage, which worked out really, really well for me. After boots, I typically go to gloves. And the reason I go to gloves is that gloves can either be crit rate. So because I want this support who's constantly attacking everybody, I want him to crit to get really the most bang for buck out of his skills, that they're going to hit hard and put on debuffs. I focused on crit rate as a secondary stat for him. So here you can see that he has like things like HP, speed, and then here's some flat attack. These gloves would instantly get replaced. I would want maybe like speed and accuracy. And then ideally I would want like crit damage so he hits a little bit harder. This attack percentage, it's good, right? This flat attack, not so great. I don't care about it. But yeah, these gloves would be one of the big things I would instantly change on him. If I wanted him to live longer, right? Let's say I just care about the accuracy on him, and then I just want him to live as long as possible because he's a support, I could easily change these gloves to HP percentage or defense percentage, right? And then I'd be hoping for the opposite substat. So like in this example, since we already have HP percentage as a substat. I would hope for defense percentage up here. And then I would hope for like, you know, HP percentage, speed, and accuracy to really get this number up as high as possible. Bellower was absolutely worth my best gear. When I first got him, he did so much for my account. I originally built him up as a nuker. He was with attack. He was with crit rate, crit damage, and attack percentage, and he had all my best gear until I got an epic version who was an attacker. So then I rebuilt him as a bruiser, which is one of my favorite champions in the style of game. And that was with a heavy emphasis on HP percentage, defense percentage, and then speed and accuracy so he could do his job. After the boots and gauntlets, so in this case, because I want him dealing damage, I either want crit rate gauntlets, or for really advanced things, you could do crit damage gauntlets, but you would definitely want crit rate substats on every piece of gear that we would talk about. My Bellower is not built for that type of damage. I don't think I would build a support with crit damage gauntlets. I think that would be better for attacking champions. I think they have better scaling. So we go to the chest plate. Here again, you can choose HP percentage or defense percentage. In my case, since his HP is in a great spot and his defense is in a normal spot, a middle of the road spot, it's not bad, it's not great, so it's right there in the middle. I chose to focus more on his HP since it's a little bit healthier than his defense. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. Defense technically would be a bit better because defense is damage mitigation, whereas HP, yes, it mitigates damage. Defense usually kind of goes a little bit further in the community's opinion and in my opinion. But again, here we have the accuracy substat, and it also had crit rate. So this armor I thought was like perfect for him. And unfortunately, nothing landed on the crit rate. Now, this is good because I wanted accuracy, making this armor amazing. And then as I plus 12'd it, right, we got the defense percentage, even better. And then my final roll for plus 16ing it, I got speed. This thing was like a dream come true. It's just unfortunate that the crit rate was so low. It wasn't like 5 or 6. So this armor, I think, would be the hardest thing for me to replace. I would definitely need like a purple or a legendary gear, maybe a 6-star with very similar stats to replace it. I would have to find like a direct upgrade, which is extremely rare in this game. Because I'm attacking with him, right? Because all of his nonsense is attacks. Every single nonsense, I mean his skills. Every single one of his skills attacks all enemies. Here I opted for a 6-star sword. We really wanted to take advantage of the fact that, yes, he is going to be attacking. He's going to be hitting everything. And again, here I sought out accuracy and speed. And at the time, this weapon was my 6-star weapon that had accuracy and speed. And when I rolled it, things landed on accuracy and speed, which was great for what I'm trying to do with him. And then finally, this last substat rolled was HP percentage. Again, all good stats for him. The crit damage here, ideally, I think I would have preferred, like, let's say, crit rate, to be honest with you, especially since this armor only had 4%. So then if I wanted to upgrade this armor, I could hope for, like, let's say speed and accuracy on an HP chest plate or a defensive chest plate. That would lean me being able to change things around a little bit smoother. The crit damage is always appreciated. It makes him hit harder. But on a weapon, and because I care more about his debuffing ability with accuracy, that's why this weapon's not in a rush, and it's 6-star, so it's not going to get changed for a while. It's a very, very good champion. So going for a weapon, because he's a support and he's an aggressive support, right? A big attacker, I care more about the ranking so that we get to this 265. Whereas if I show you, let's say, a 5-star weapon, here we go, Versolf has a 5-star weapon, is only 225, right? So he's losing a lot of damage. And since Bellower is constantly AoE attacking everything, getting the highest ranked sword was very important for me. Or this is maybe where you don't skimp out on your support, right? Some of your other gear can be that 4-star stuff, but ideally, and obviously end goal for every champion, right, is all 6-star gear. You will definitely get there. But let's say you're farming 4 to 5-star gear currently, right? You're on like Dragon like 10 or 12. Aim more for a 5-star weapon, right? Like the moment your 4-star weapon can get to a 5-star weapon, you have a neutral, change, right? the 5-star will mean a whole lot, and a 6-star means even more. It is about 40 attack per star. It's noticeable though. It is a big change in damage. I next normally go to shields then. I know this order is kind of a little bit weird and all over the place. I care most about boots because I want to get this speed up, and because getting boots with speed as a main stat, getting the right substats is kind of like the hardest thing to do. So any substats, for me, my experience at least, getting any good substats works out well here. The gloves is to get that crit rate as high as possible. And then the chest has the last most random element. So that's why I start with these bottom 3 first. Again, I then went to the weapon because he's a more aggressive support. If he was a more defensive support, or if I was focused on his longevity, right, and making sure that he was a lot livelier, I would then go to the shield first and then go to the weapon. Just depends on your preference. The order does not matter. I'm just letting you know what I enjoy. Anyways, so I go over to the shield, right, and I would love to upgrade this shield. Here we have, again, crit rate. We have accuracy, crit rate, so that worked out really well for me. Defense percentage and HP percentage. I got really lucky on certain rolls on these characters, on Bellower specifically. So this gear has become very hard for me to replace. It's literally, I need a 6-star shield with better stats than this, and that's going to take me a while to find. Very happy with how everything rolled out. Again, I was very focused on HP percentage, defense percentage, and accuracy. And then I did want his crit rate up. And because he has a defensive down and a speed down, I do want him going more often than my opponent. I did want him a little bit on the faster side. So for me, 170 was a pretty good place. Helmet. So helmet has to be flat HP. So not a lot of nonsense you can do here. And again, really good rolls here. Crit rate, defense percentage, and accuracy was amazing. And then, of course, when I plus 16'd it, got really lucky and got speed. This Bellower, I love him. I will say the things that I would do better. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, let's go through this gear down here. So, like, for instance, this green piece, instantly want to replace it. Just seeing it's green offends me. So I went with a defense ring. And then the substats are actually horrible here. I should absolutely give him a different ring. If I was more actively using him, this is where giving him like even a ring like this, a lot more attack and HP percentage, would go so much further for him. That would make him a lot better, especially it being 5-star with an attack stat and an attack substat, right? Would be much more meaningful. And then the HP percentage as well. Yeah, this would be a massive, massive upgrade for him. What I will say, though, is when it comes to rings, a lot of people have a very different opinion. They can only be your 3 primary stats. So they're either HP, attack, or defense as the primary stat. And then the substats can only be HP, HP percentage. Defense percentage, or HP and HP percentage. Now, obviously, if it's defense up here, you can't get defense down below, but you could get defense up here and defense percentage. I try to focus more on my champion's like strengths, but because I wanted him to be more of a bruiser, I would be maybe instead of this attack ring, which would be great on him, I would maybe go for something like this with like a defensive ring with defense percentage. Or ideally, where would be one? I was hoping to find a ring that had HP or defense with an HP and defense percentage. Like this ring. This ring would be a bit better for him if the rolls didn't land on this attack, right? I could make him really, really bulky, which is what I was aiming for. I wanted him to be a bulky behemoth that just constantly is debuffing the opponent. So much better ring options if I wanted to upgrade him. Here, because I did build him with 100% crit rate, right? So 88 plus 15, that puts him at 103. The crit damage amulet does matter a lot for him. There's no reason for me not to use this. Here, though, the roll, I did get unlucky. Now, this was the best one I had at the time, so I used it. And then, of course, substats, I got accuracy and resistance. Again, if I was replacing this, I would find a crit damage with accuracy. I would roll it up before equipping him. And then this is also 4-star, which would be terrible, in my opinion. This is awful. We need that off. Thank you. I would prefer a crit damage, so I don't have a better one, like a 5-star. But I would want crit damage amulet with accuracy and resistance on it. And then hopefully my rolls would land on the accuracy so that his debuffs land more often, right? We definitely want that increased accuracy as much as possible on him. So then we would go to his banner, an accuracy banner, right? This is absolutely amazing. And then substats, I got screwed on rolls, but I did get a speed substat, which made up for the really bad rolls on here. But this would be a banner that absolutely I would want to replace with a 5-star. Like that would be okay, right? Accuracy with attack. It would be the best thing that I have for right now. Ignore these attack banners. I was planning to do something gimmicky with them. I have decided against it. So here, an accuracy banner with defense. If I was going more for that bulky side, like I said with the ring, which is probably what I would do if I was to re-gear him up, I think I would focus a lot less on any attack stat. I would really focus on defense percentage, HP percentage, accuracy, and then anything to crit rate, and maybe crit damage to make him do decent damage. But that is Bellower. He's one of my absolute favorite champions in the game, and he's a rare champion. I really hope they make a legendary version of him. So a void champion that is considered support who just has a bunch of debuffs in their kit. Like a perfect example, right, to not make it overpowered, because you could just make an overpowered version of him, right? Make this do 60% attack and defense break, a better speed thing, and then maybe like a block debuffs or block buffs, and he would be broken as all holy hell. Something that they could easily do, keep in line with these like low chances and like, you know, weaker debuffs, but maybe add in some like weirder debuffs, like a 50% heal reduction, right? So it's just these tons and tons of debuffs all on one champion. So then like maybe a lower speed and lower accuracy. I know that's on some other champions like Lady Kimmy, but I'm talking about like a legendary version of Bellower who's just all about hyper debuffing everything on the enemy side, and it makes him a prime target as a support. And then here maybe like, you know, block active skills and block buffs in some really weird circumstance, right? Like if the opponent has 5 or more debuffs on them, then can place a block active skills and block buffs, or like, you know, 20 or 30% chance, right? A literal like clone of him, just so much better because of the extra debuffs. And same thing too, maybe you pair speed and defense down together and then do like attack, you know, heal reduction and leech, right? Do something crazy like that. Would be a lot of fun. This is how I would go about building and attacking support. So again, if you guys like this video and you're like, hey, I would like to see built from scratch, let me know, and what we'll do is we'll gear up Sachi here. She's a really interesting support that I've had my eye on for a long time that I would want to build. If not, right, if you're like, no, your other videos did a good job of covering it, and Bellower was like a perfect example of why your mind went to those places. The accuracy makes tons of sense because of all the debuffs in his kit. The crit rate, oh yeah, he's attacking everything always. That makes sense. And then the defense and HP, oh yeah, you just want him to live forever, constantly debuffing. Obviously, I've done my masteries for him. I've had my masteries done forever. Admittedly, if I was to redo his masteries, which from the looks of it, I absolutely need to redo his masteries real bad. I don't know what guide I followed, but this is weird. That skill's fine. That skill's fine. This is really strange. That's really strange. I would maybe, if I was to rebuild him with a defense inclination, I would go down the defensive tree and get these 2 counterattacks in here, so that whenever certain events happened, he would have a chance to counterattack and maybe lock the entire enemy team out of their skills. And then over here on the accuracy tree, I think I would prefer this increased chance of landing my debuffs over the extension of debuffs. I would say that's a personal preference thing. That is for, you or I to decide. I think I would go with the resist keystone out of the options. Yeah, because he can't place a stun sleep feat. He can't do any of those. You could put him in the stun set. That's what I've heard a lot of higher end players do. So they really maximize the amount of debuffs. So attack, defense break, speed, blocking active skills, and then they put him in a stun set so that he has a chance to put on one of the best CCs in the game. Again, if I was to gear him for like super debuffing, I would maybe even give him like the provoke set because of how naturally bulky an ogre wants to be, or that anti-healing, right? So that the set adds 1 more debuff to the plate. And anti-healing, I think, is heavily overlooked in this game. It is a kind of a situational thing. And I will say a stun would be better 10 times better than the anti-healing. It just depends on what you have available to you. But yeah, this is interesting. This is something I'm definitely going to have to look at pretty soon, and I might redo some of his things because some of these are based upon him being a campaign farmer. And since I've switched him from campaign farmer to bulky debuffing behemoth, yeah, I would definitely want to switch down this defensive tree. But yeah, I've already done his masteries once, so I can't do it for free. So, if you guys enjoyed this content, if you liked it, if you like the way I present the content, please hit that like or subscribe button. Maybe hit the notification bell if you want to see future videos by me. Leave in the comment section, if you liked it, or if you want to see a Sachi geared from scratch. I have to do some more farming for gear anyways, so that is one of the big reasons we're not doing that in this video as well. Doing all these gearing, and then I've been gearing up champions in my own free time as well. I'm running out of gear. I need to do some heavy dragon farming soon. So I'm waiting for the next tournament or event to push me into dragon so I can just go gear farming for a bit. Thank you guys for watching. Again, if you want interaction, right? If you want to be able to ask questions and you don't like the YouTube comment section, feel free to visit us over at twitch.tv/SprinkleBeard, and I can answer your questions there. But of course, happy farming. Good luck on those pulls. Until that next time. Ta-ta.